What's up, everybody? It's Grendel from DC here, and I'm doing an interesting video. It's not what I usually put up. This isn't a regular video. This is going to be visible on the SkBr YouTube channel, but you already know that because you've navigated there to see this video. This is the third series from the round robin tournament on June 13th that SkBr has asked me to do some uh, commentate, upload my commentary for this series onto their channel. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Um, the way this video is edited, I have watched it once already, and of course I did commentary on these games once before, but you won't be able to see them, or maybe I'll just upload one of them. I definitely won't be uploading the last game, but maybe I will upload one or two of these games of the Wolves versus the Bears. Um, I'm just going to be talking generally about the matchups in each situation and the different strategies that each team deployed for this series in these three games, but I'm not going to do the general play-by-play that you might be used to. So anyway, the really cool thing that I thought about this tournament was that the Bears, who we are watching here, this is PLANTROON's perspective, so it's the exact same perspective that you always see me commentate on in the first tournament on June 6th and also through most of this June 13th tournament. Um, the Bears were bringing this four shock unit and two heavy cav into pretty much every game they ran into, and it was extremely successful. You didn't see This is one of the few situations where they were running into 3-3s and still pretty easily demolishing it. I'm not sure how much of it has to do with the effectiveness of the comp and how much is just the pure muscle memory and beautiful chopping skills that the Bears players have, but this composition was pretty dominant throughout the entire tournament, and they won pretty heavily by about, I think they had 6 or 7 round wins above the next best competitor, which was Void Clan in this tournament. So, yeah, in this matchup specifically, they're going up against the 3-3, which for a while many people thought was the meta, the best way to do it. Especially on the rain map, you think the 3-3 is really going to be the way to go with the 3 shields and 3 shocks. But a lot of the things you see also in this tournament, for whatever reason, especially on the rain map, there were too many people bringing spears. So I guess a lot of the competitors that Bears were playing up against just had no clue about spear turning, which is pretty amateur stuff, but you expect players in this tournament to know about that because you can see right there. Uh, if I had to guess, that was Aeducan leading that charge there. And I did see this a lot from Aeducan and a lot of players throughout the entire tournament. Shocks and shields were constantly bringing spears, so these two knights are really going to mess up your melee. And they're not going to get these players are so good on Bears. They're not going to get confused and, have the cav attack at a different time with the shocks. The shocks and the cav are going to go in at the same time. So if you have a spear, the shocks will kill you. There's no question about it. All your AI have spears out, and they're getting chomped with bill hooks and bardishes. You're gonna be in a lot of trouble there. Um, so that's what you have essentially. You have 6 different melee units in this game that were just unable to really close out rounds in the way they wanted to. Because they couldn't do damage. They couldn't do damage against the shocks because they all had their spears out. And yeah, you could kill a few knights, but you're going to kill knights in the back line. But they've done their job. They have completely neutralized all 6 of the enemy infantry units. And that was really the story of the tournament. People were not getting, and it's not like they were getting Botania, where you have to get all your javelins off, or you're going to be switching to stab horses with your javelins. These were clans getting Vlandia, they were getting Empire, they were getting Empire is of course a little different because of the Manavlian, but there was a lot of Sturgia, a lot of Vlandia, and that Bears were playing against, and players were bringing spears, and their spears were getting turned. They were losing melees, and that's that. um, they did lose a round there that while I was talking, I didn't really tell exactly what happened. I would have to go back and look at it again, but I think you had a situation where either the Cav didn't attack correctly or something like that, but I don't know. But every other round, and it was the story for this tournament, they would just everyone would have spears or pikes. The guards would switch to their pike. The savages would sometimes switch to javelins because they wouldn't take franks. That's the other thing. You see people taking javelins over franks and not getting them all off. Javelins are typically a little better, I think. I think a frank somehow does more damage, but javelins have more range, so it's easier to get more damage down range quicker on the open maps if you have the javelins. But still, if you're going to take javelins and you're going to go up against these 2 heavy cav units, you have to make sure you throw them all at some point. You have to get all your javelins off if you're going to take the melee with the cav there also. So when I was recording my commentary, I'll to a different topic here. The audio video quality was pretty horrendous, and that's not PLANTROON's fault. This Tailworlds needs to make a spectator client, so that's why I'm pretty happy about making this video. Everyone will have something to look at while while I speak here, because this is some very high level Bannerlord you're watching. Big congratulations to the Bears. That was a nice block by PLANTROON. I know it's pretty easy to swing the Manavlian, but even when he's chasing people down, he's careful to preserve that health bar of his and just... That's how you can tell a really good player in this game is how good their blocks are. Anyway, as I was saying, the Tailworlds needs to put spectator mode in this game because it makes my videos very not that watchable. That's why I'm very glad PLANTROON has uploaded this video for me to do commentary on. And yeah, just congratulations to Bears. They really figured the meta out, and other people didn't. They have a grasp on the game that a lot of these other top teams... I think maybe if they were playing LB, it would be a little different, or... and Void Clan knew what they were doing too. The Void Clan gave them a lot of trouble in their matchup, the Bears matchup, and that was just such a phenomenal series. That was probably, the series to watch for sure of this whole tournament, was that SkBr Bears second series. So this is a pretty interesting matchup. I didn't see much of this round. This was all Minecraft when I was watching it, just because of the video quality. But this is another situation. So you take a bunch of archers to maybe shoot the Vulgars, and technically this should be a pretty good composition, especially because you can have your Manavlians deal with the Cav pretty easy on the Palatines. Your Palatines are going to be able to chop up these Cav, but they only had in this situation... I think they were in range a little bit too much while they were walking, so they were trying to shoot Vulgars, but they should have been dealing with the Cav first, and then they could actually get a kite going, because the Knights are going to make it impossible for you to kite. That's why I like playing Crusade so easy is, you have Lancers to deter other Cav, which makes it easy for your cons to kite. And not so much easy, but good. That's what makes them good as a faction. But and technically the other two Wolves players on the on those cataphracts here. I don't know who is the other one. They all have the same picture, but Warbandman, maybe it was Zippy. Uh, maybe they should have played very aggressive with their knights. Maybe that's not like something, or their cataphracts. That's like a maybe a weird tactical decision. I don't know if that how that would have worked out, but you just want to keep those knights away from your palatines at all costs. You have four of them, and once they like get in there and like the vulgars are close, this round is going to be over. We have been seeing a lot in this tournament, a lot of Vlandia winning melees against Empire, which is pretty interesting. The I saw a lot of teams. There was a lot of Empire in this tournament. A lot of teams weren't um, committing to getting good Pila volleys off. Like here, if you're up against this comp, you would want to spam really as many Manavlians as you can. Really, you wouldn't want to play around with archers. You wouldn't want to play around with um, like that many shields or cataphracts. You like obviously you're gonna need a delivery unit or two, but the Manavlian, I might even actually do yeah like six Manavlians here. And you think about it, what does a Manavlian kill? A Manavlian kills unshielded shock units, kills other shock units, kills shields once it gets to melee. I'm talking about Pilas, I guess, also. The Pilas would kill the Vulgars, and their Manavlians would kill the Vulgars, and also the uh, Manavlians would kill Knights. So there's nothing that really threatens you that you couldn't do damage with. Are you expecting them to take archers or something? Because, you know, if they did pick a unit of Arbalists, that would make it very difficult, but they haven't been so far in this tournament. I guess they didn't know that. That's some theory crafting I guess you could do, but if I was up against this four Vulgars and two Knight composition, or however they run it with the Druzniks, Mamluks, if they were on Aserai or Sturgia or Empire, whatever the variation is, or whatever the faction is, take a bunch of shocks. A bunch of shocks would kill everything. The you don't, even if you were Britannia, okay? So let's say you're Britannia and you're playing against this Vlandian composition. What you would do is you would take maybe like six savages, but don't take any pikes. You want to take rocks and then have everyone hold fire because they're not going to switch to the rocks. So the only thing that will happen is uh, you'll be slicing the Vulgars and the Cataphracts with your Romps, which maybe that's not the best example because Romps aren't the best weapons against uh, heavy cav like Cataphracts and Mamluks. But let's say it was a Vlandian mirror matchup. It's the same thing. Take um, six Vulgars with Franks, and they'll just be chopping all day. Manavlians. Six Vulgars, you get the Pilas that time, which is good. That'll help you. Um, And remember, Pilas are different from a spear or a javelin because they won't switch to it. Manavlians won't. Yeah, so here we're in the third game. This was kind of a silly game. I remember this moment. This is a beautiful, I don't know if they're throwing here or what, but you just see all these Pilas going and the kill feed goes. And that's like total efficiency, total economy. Just getting so many kills with that. Pila volley. And there's nothing the Savages can do at this point.
We could have really bad hits.
Yeah, I do remember this last game being silly. I think they did manage to win a round, though. I think they win the next round, round after that. It's 3-1. I remember that's how it ends. But yeah, maybe Britannia isn't the best example for that mass shock against this 4-2 because the romps aren't great at killing Cav. But Bardishas are. Again, it's the same idea with the guards. If you take guards, if you're Asrai and you're up against a comp like this, okay, how do you kill all these Manavlians and Cataphracts? Well, you need a unit that won't swap to anything else, and then the support element of the cataphract will be eliminated if they're constantly walking into guards. Um, but there is mind game. What if they do switch to archers against the mass infantry shock unit? Then that is tough. But I haven't seen any teams like once they see. Obviously, this is the third game. They've been picking only this 4-2 with the 4 shocks and 2 cav the entire tournament. They've played them 2 games now. Every single round they've done the same thing. So how are you gonna, remedy this? And they try archers a couple times, but the cav makes it very difficult to kill the archers. So, or for the archers to ever do any damage, and they're running and not being able to shoot this entire game every single time they try it. Archers is not the way you deal with this. The trick has got to be uh, to take more shocks and keep the shocks from throwing somehow. So for each faction, let's walk through it actually. Uh, with Empire, it's easy because you don't switch to anything, so the Manavlians would be fine. With Sturgia, also easy. You take Berserkers or Warriors, because Warriors can't switch to anything. In fact, that's what I do. I do 6 Warriors with the heavy axe and the armor, and they never switch. And people think this is a disadvantage to the Warriors, but here's a good composition that could beat it. Or if you take Berserkers, just take the Franks, because they're not going to switch to the Franks. If you're Britannia, you take the rocks with the Savages, and you hold fire, because you don't want your guys throwing rocks in the middle of the fight, obviously. Who are the other 3 factions? You have... Well, Khuzait's different. I'd have to think a little bit more about what I'd do with Khuzait, because they play so differently. Maybe a mix of mounted archers and lancers. You have mounted archers to deal with the shocks, and lancers to deal with the cav, but that is pretty even. Knights versus or cataphracts are a little easier to deal with lancers than knights. Knights, for me, give me the most trouble when I'm playing lancer, but both are fill basically the same unit. The trouble with cataphracts is they're just so heavily armored that even with the glaive, if you're going to be smacking that cataphract for a while before it eventually bites the dust. And yeah, you typically want... But then again, the Lancer does have the lance. That is what you should do. When you're up against heavy cav, even with the glaive, with a Lancer's glaive, especially cataphracts who are very heavily armored. Mamluk's different story. Mamluk you can kill in 2 hits pretty easily. You can get them in 1 if you're going the right speed. But yeah, so anyway, where was I? Before I start talking about Lancers. There's one more faction I'm forgetting about. Oh, the Asrai. So, excuse me there. With the Asrai, you take the sword with the guard. So then you would just spam guards with either armor, bardiche, but you take the sword for sure because they won't switch. The other 2 options they have are the javelins and the pike, and those are both things they'll switch to, and you don't want that. So the sword, the AI pretty much never switches to the sword. So that's how I would potentially counter the 4-2 that SkBr Bears is running with every different faction. It is dominant, but there is a counter to it, and I just don't think the story of this tournament was teams were not able to counter this. They couldn't figure anything out to deal with the heavy cav and the shocks. It was too much for everybody. But also, teams were too rigid. I mean, yeah, they didn't want to adjust or adapt to the comp, and that was that. And I think this is almost just about the last round here. And you see how easy. I remember watching the kill feed. It's unbelievable. Oaths die so quickly to Manavlians. It's quite unreasonable. Manavlians are a very strong unit. They got to take Pila. Actually, I was saying for a long time that to nerf Empire, you have to remove Pilos from either Legionaries or Manablians. But it's a really unique and cool faction to play because of that they have such a huge advantage in that way. Um, and I just kind of wish Tailworlds would balance the factions by giving them each a unique item like that makes them really good. Um, in a different way. And I think the Khuzaits have that for sure with the glaive. Um, and that's what the two most fun factions to play for that reason are Crusade and Empire because they just have that unique strategy, that unique item that helps them play in a different way and makes the factions unique. Because you think about Botania, Sturgia, Asrai, Flandia, these factions are basically the same. I mean, of course there are differences, but anyway, that was the video. Good job to SkBr Bears. Check out PLANTROON's YouTube channel. Subscribe to the SkBr YouTube channel to get cool and informative Bannerlord videos like these. Thank you, everybody, for watching.